Boala did not juxtapose his previous position with the current reality on ground before going on such a suicidal interview.
So why did you just let Donald Trump and the United States bomb your country on Christmas Day?
The United States government did not bomb our country. The decision by the US government was anchored on the intelligence sharing between Nigeria and the United States and the agreement on the operation.
So Donald Trump just didn't bomb Nigeria on his own whim?
No. The US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, called our own foreign affairs minister when the decision was made that that was the time to strike, and the foreign affairs minister got in touch with the president.
So this was a joint operation, you're saying?
Yes, it was a joint operation. On the Nigerian...
What I don't understand is, how can it be a joint operation?
Yeah.
When Donald Trump says that there is a genocide going on against Christians carried out by Muslims with your government turning a blind eye, you've called that narrative a hoax. You said it creates discord in Nigeria.
Right.
So when Donald Trump says he's bombing Nigeria to protect Christians from a genocide, is he lying?
We both disagree as to whether the so-called genocide in Nigeria was against Christians. We believe that it is a targeted killing by insurgents, Boko Haram bandits, and all of these criminal elements against the people of Nigeria, Christians, Muslims, and those who have not identified with any religion. Donald Trump believed it is Christians. We now felt, rather than arguing about whether it is against Christians or not, there is one area we both agree, that we have a joint interest in the fight against terrorism.
But you're fine with the fact that his motivation is something you disagree with? You think it's a hoax?
Yes, because...
So when Donald Trump says there is a genocide against Christians in Nigeria, is he telling the truth?
It is a half-truth, in the sense that, yes, Christians have been affected, but the whole truth is that both Christians, Muslims, and those who have not identified. I said the narrative of Christian genocide was a hoax.
He's pushing it.
That's his opinion. Everybody's entitled to it.
Is he right or wrong?
We believe there is a targeted killing of all Nigerians. Evidence has shown. And that is where we are focused on fighting terrorism.
So let's talk about the terrorism.
Right.
Trump claimed he targeted, quote, ISIS terrorist scum.
Right.
And every camp got decimated. But a lot of investigative reporting on the ground shows that few, if any, combatants were killed. Some bombs landed in empty fields. A local leader in one of the districts said, the same militants we knew are still there, loitering around our communities.
No, there were killings of terrorists.
That's not what local leaders are saying.
So I can call local television that testified. Arise News did, Channels Television did.
Okay.
So there was the killing of
you're not on the
terrorists in
ground
that
with
place.
respect.
No, I didn't.
Al-Haji Bunu, who's a traditional ruler in the district, says, we saw no dead bodies, even where the bombs fell. Those are his words.
No, because the bomb didn't fall in the town. It was at the camp, that enclave, where they gathered.
Are you okay with having the Americans bomb Nigerian people's homes?
I'm not aware of that one.
You're not aware of Morenike Saka, who said, I began to scream for help. I had to crawl my way out of the room. The missile tore through her apartment building, according to the Washington Post. How about Musa Soliu? I was in my room. I was buried under the ruins. I don't know how to restart my life. My belongings are destroyed.
Houses were not destroyed.
Are you telling us that Nigerian citizens are lying about being bombed by the US?
I am saying that the military operation that was conducted on that day was targeted as terrorists, and we hit them.
You have a history of not hitting terrorists and hitting civilians. You know that, right? Your country.
I'm not aware.
Oh, well, on December 21st, the Nigerian Air Force said that they handed over compensation to people who were hit in an accidental airstrike on Christmas Day 2024. Do you just bomb every Christmas?
When and when?
Christmas Day 2024 and Christmas Day 2025.
I dispute that fact.
We'll take it up with the Nigerian Air Force. Let me ask you this. Since President Tinubu came to office in 2023, the situation has worsened in your country. You have a mixture of militant groups, you have bandits, you have clashes between herders and farmers.
We also have
Nigeria is now
of foreign interest in Nigeria.
I'm sure. Nigeria is now the 5th deadliest country in the world. Are you proud of that record?
I acknowledge the fact that we have insecurity in Nigeria, and until the hoax narrative of the Christian genocide, then we began to see back-to-back attack in Nigeria. We had, for the first 2 years of the president's administration, a substantial peace in Nigeria.
Actually, the number of deaths went up on the president's watch.
After this incident of a Christian genocide. And by the way,
when did that begin?
There is no country of the world today that is free from insecurity.
No,
there
I
are
agree.
parts of London you can't go in the evening.
Okay, but we're not bombing London to root out militant training camps.
But you have had so many of the bombing on behalf of the
Let's
United
just
Kingdom
put this
by
in
the United
context here,
States.
since you're making rather spurious comparisons.
No, the context is
11,000 people were killed in conflict in Nigeria in 2025. That is up from 8,700 in 2023. That is a 26% increase in the number of Nigerians killed since your party and your president came to office. That's a pretty awful record.
It's awful. And we're fighting hard day and night. But that's one of the reasons why the president traveled to Turkey, where we had bilateral agreement to deal with insecurity. That's why we're cooperating with the United States of America. That's why we're cooperating with any country of the world. The reason is because since 9/11, terrorism is a global phenomenon.
Agreed.
And so every country is involved in it.
But it's getting worse in Nigeria. That's the problem.
I can't say it is getting worse.
You just agreed with me when I gave you the numbers.
No, I said
8,700 killed in 2023,
Right.
11,000 killed in 2025. That's getting worse.
How many people were killed in the United States last year?
In conflict-related violence, probably.
So this is not
one.
a conflict. This is an act of terrorism.
Okay. So how many people were killed in the United States in terrorism?
Excuse me, sir.
It wasn't 11,000.
This is part of what Donald Trump many years ago in his first term classified the Western media as what? Fake news. The reason is because context matter.
This is not Western media.
You
right?
are well
this
aware.
Is not Western media.
Yes, I understand. But
this
you
is
are
the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data, ACLED,
No.
the most respected group
When
that
you-
counts conflict-related violence around the
Let me
world.
ask you, where there is a terrorist
I could also
attack, do
give you
call
another
that an armed
source.
conflict?
I mean, National Human Rights Commission. This is a Nigerian group. 2,266 people were killed by bandits or insurgents in the first half of 2025. That's more than were killed in all of 2024. You are failing. Amnesty International says you are failing at security. The numbers don't lie.
It's unfortunate, and as a government,
And it's getting worse.
we're working day and night
And
to
it's
deal
getting
with
worse.
that situation. I don't agree to the fact that it's getting
How
worse.
can it not get worse if more people die in 1 year than the previous year?
Context matters.
What's the context?
The context is not getting worse.
What?
Yes.
The context is not getting worse.
The context is that it is not getting worse because you see, this is a water, right?
Okay.
If you have the water half, you could say half glass filled or half empty.
Yeah.
Isn't it right?
Yeah.
So the Western media always see Nigeria, Africa, and some of the activities in Africa as half empty. Excuse me. But we see it as half full because when we look at it, and when I say context matter, before the president took the oath of office, we knew the situation in Nigeria.
And you made it worse.
When he made the decision to take bold step to put Nigeria in better trajectory, we were well aware of the fact that it was going to incense lots of people.
Okay.
We are also
You've
aware.
made your point. I get the glass half full. I get the context. I also understand basic mathematics. Let me ask you this. President Tinubu only declared a national emergency in November of 2025, brought in a raft of policy changes after Trump declared your country to be a country of particular concern for failing to deal with the threat of Christians. Does your government only spring into action when it is internationally shamed into doing so?
Unfortunately for you, 6 months before that, we arrested the leaders of La Kurawa and Boko Haram. Some months before that, we killed a certain number of terrorists that the U.S. government, State Department, commended Nigeria. The U.S.
You only brought in a national
the
emergency.
U.S. Embassy celebrated the fact of the exploit of Nigeria before Donald Trump said that.
But again, he shamed you and you declared a national emergency. You didn't do it before he shamed you.
We declared the national emergency 6 months before Donald Trump's statement.
No, that's not true.
The president
it was in
of
November of
Nigeria.
2025.
No. Much earlier, around I think April or May, the president declared national emergency on insecurity.
But the actual national emergency was in November.
How can it be
let's
actual?
talk about, people can look this up. Let's talk about kidnappings.
Yeah.
The world remembers Chibok in 2014,
Right.
when 276 schoolgirls were taken by the militant group Boko Haram. Very little has changed, unfortunately, in Nigeria. Just last November, 250 students and staff were kidnapped from St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State. 2 years into Tinubu's presidency, Nigerian research firm SBM Intelligence said, and I quote, Nigeria's kidnap for ransom crisis has consolidated into a structured, profit-seeking industry. That's embarrassing for your country that you have a kidnapping industry.
I agree with the fact that the insecurity associated with kidnapping has now become a crisis economy. But much more than that, I know of our government's effort in dealing with that insecurity. If you have a little understanding of the nature and the boundary and the geographical measurement of Nigeria and the tendency for insecurity to come in, then you will understand that we're fighting a hydra-headed insecurity situation. With respect to the kidnapping of children, the government has taken measures already. We've introduced what we call Save the School, where students and schools that are in remote places where there is no security are brought back into state capital where they get the education that they need.
But Nigerian people don't believe you. 2 out of 3 Nigerians say that
Where did you
security...
get that information?
Africa Barometer. May of 2024, 2 out of 3 Nigerians say security agencies are handling the abduction of Nigerians fairly badly or very badly. 1 in 3 Nigerians say they personally know someone who's been kidnapped.
Yeah, you have
These are stunning statistics. Amnesty, Human Rights Watch have lined up to say that you have allowed impunity to flourish, you have failed to apply lessons from previous attacks, damning indictments of your security
I put it to you, that's not what they said.
That's not what Amnesty said?
Yes. Amnesty...
I've literally got the quote right here.
Quote it.
The authorities' failure has allowed impunity to flourish and the killings to spread to many parts of the country.
Source.
Amnesty International, February 8th, 2026.
Well, I'm not aware of that one.
You're not aware of that one?
I am aware. I'm aware.
At the weekend, you put out a video to music of you and a team researching and prepping for this show. And yet every time I've asked you something, you say, I'm not aware of that. What were you researching in that video?
You're really funny. Let me tell you
I'll ask you a
this.
serious question. Amnesty International, you asked me for a source, I read out the source. You asked me for a date, I read out the date. What's your response other than picking up glasses of water?
No, Amnesty has a history of calling everything bad.
Okay.
I want
think
to ask you,
that's what every authoritarian government in the world has said.
What is Amnesty's report about US?
Bad.
Not just bad, you didn't use the word bad, you read.
Yeah,
what
very
did they
bad.
say?
Governments who do bad things, they all criticize human rights groups.
No.
Yeah, they do. I do this
that.
for a living. Let's ask about corruption before we go to our panel who are waiting patiently here. Transparency International, they say systemic corruption continues to plague the defense sector, causes a major hindrance to security. President Tinubu said in August, there is no more corruption in Nigeria. That's a ridiculous thing to say, is it not?
We investigate any case of corruption, not just in the defense, but anywhere in government. This administration has had lots of people who are in government, either sacked or investigated and being prosecuted. The resolve of our administration in dealing with corruption is obvious.
Why did he say there's no more corruption?
You probably read him out of context.
No, I didn't.
No, read exactly what he said. You're cherry picking. How can someone just stand and say there is no corruption in Nigeria?
It is getting clearer to the people. We have more money to the economy and no more corruption. Full stop, close quote.
Good. So this is the context. He was communicating to the people about the exploit we're having as a result of the decision to remove fuel subsidy. We dealt with the question of corruption in the oil industry.
And that's not what he said, but okay, he didn't say anything about the oil industry.
That's why I say context matters.
Well, you can't just make up the context. He didn't say anything about the oil industry. He said we have more money to the economy and no more corruption. In fact, he was criticized in Nigeria for this. Last question on this. How can Nigerians take Tinubu seriously on eliminating corruption when he appoints someone like Abubakar Bagudu as Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, a man who, according to the US Justice Department, with others, embezzled, misappropriated, defrauded and extorted billions with a B from the government of Nigeria under the dictator Sani Abacha. Bagudu avoided criminal charges. He cut a deal with the Nigerian government, returned some of the money. But the president literally put Nigeria's budget in the hands of a man who's accused of looting billions of dollars.
You started your introduction by saying it's a sovereign country. The decision of the court in the United States does not bind the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
But he gave $163 million. And that man is now in charge of the Nigerian budget. You're okay with that?
I think
Do you think it's funny? I mean,
no,
two-thirds of Nigerians...
You think it's funny.
No, I don't. I think people who are giving $163 million back shouldn't be in charge of the country's budget.
Thank you for your observation.
Okay, but do you think they should be in charge of the budget?
There's no evidence that that minister has misappropriated funds in the government of Nigeria.
Why did he give back $163 million?
To Nigeria or to the US government?
To Nigeria.
Why did the US government give him $100 million?
It's a settlement. That's what you do in settlements.
Okay.
Why was he settling?
Yeah,
okay. So you're comfortable with a guy who is accused by the US Justice Department of embezzling with the Sani Abacha regime billions of dollars being in charge of the budget
Are
today?
you okay with a president of one of the countries in the world who was convicted by the courts in that land and the person is still governing the country?
Who are you referring
No, I'm just asking.
But which country?
Okay, are you also